Alrighty, let's go ahead and get the presentation here started. So first and foremost, thank you guys from tuning in from YouTube. This is the first time in a while that we've tried YouTube streaming for our dev streams, so as well as the Discord channel. So, alrighty, my name
Let's
is
go ahead
Thunder,
and get the presentation here started.
I'm one of the programmers here. I'm also the lead PR person here, which means that you see me making most of the announcements and everything here. And that's also why I'm hosting this stream today. So let's go ahead and get this started here. So, like I said previously, I will be watching the DevStream text chat on Discord, and I will also be watching the chat on YouTube. So if you guys have any questions about any content I go over, one of the other mods might get to you first, or I can respond to you. Either way works. So, without further ado, let's begin with version 0.2.1.7, which is our most recent version. This is the one that we just released over the past couple of weeks. So, we've released quite a little bit of features, including SCP-049. We've also released 106's newest pocket dimension. We've released SCP-294. We've released SCP-966. We've released HDRP, saving and loading, and an entirely replaced intro. I'm going to go over a little bit over most of these features here. Here's also all the minor features that we have released. There's a lot. I'm not going to read all of them. You can pause the stream if you're on YouTube and read them here, or just look at the stream later. So here's all those minor features. I have a couple of videos I made here. You can watch each of these videos and see. Right here is the newest pocket dimension, and then we have 294 and the newest intro. So the pocket dimension video is the longest here. But you can see in each video each of the new big features that we've added to the game. Right now, if you look at the pocket dimension, you can see the trench, which is one of the most notable pocket dimension rooms from the original game. You can also see the intro, the guard leading the Class D to 173's room. And so, yeah. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and move on. One of the other minor features we've released is art frames. And art frames allow, they're our first big sort of way for the community to get involved with the game. So you can see all of these art frames here, with the exception of this pumpkin in the background, was made by community members. These three each were made by people who don't work with us. They're not developers. They're just normal community members who put their art in the game. And we are still having these opportunities open. If anybody here wants to see their art in the game, we're pretty lenient on what we add. But these three here are all art that the community has created that we've put in. The only requirement is that it has to be SCP related, but other than that, you can get anything in. We've also added a bunch of new rooms, including this entrance zone room right here, the office, and this office actually has a couple of item spawns in here. We've also added this office, which this office has art frames in it, which I just discussed previously. We added this heavy containment zone 4-way, which is a pretty popular 4-way, and we added this heavy containment zone 3-way. This is kind of a bad picture, to be honest, but this is depicting the 3-way in heavy containment. Branding, we've done a lot with our how we appear recently. We got a new domain. We've moved on from this old api.virtualwebsite.net domain, and now we have scptgame.com, which is our staff panel, but also wiki pages that we've been working on. We also got 3 new emails. All of these are currently functional. We have our support email for just general support questions. We have appeals if you get globally banned from the game, or if you get a ban on Discord. And then last we have public relations, which is for us to respond to like people adding art in the game and translations and all of that stuff. This is your guys' feedback. This is a pretty sort of lot to take in here. So for each feature down here, you can see we have a total of 119 responses when I last checked this. Each one you can see features that are liked a lot, that are in the middle. In the middle is the neutral one. Liked sort of, liked a lot, and then disliked and disliked a lot. And as you can tell, this is also based on the people who have seen these. So not all of these add up to 119. And if they don't add to 119, the remaining people have not seen the feature. So you can see the graph for 049 looks a lot larger than the graph for saving and loading down here. But overall, you can see that for the most part, most of the features here are generally either positive or neutral. The most neutral feature on here is probably 294, and that's because it's buggy right now, and we are aware of that, and we're working on updating that. The most liked feature out of all of them is 106's pocket dimension, as well as 049. They're sort of tied, but 106 is liked slightly more. So just this graph we just put in here to show that we are responding to the feedback that we've received, and we do want to add some of the features that you guys have requested. So, and I will be going on with that shortly. Next, this is the minor features, and these are encountered and not encountered. So there's no like, did you like it or not here? But you can see that art frames are probably the most encountered, followed by the microphone icon, and then, actually, my bad, body identification, and then the microphone icon. You can see that some of the more obscure things, like the new main menu credits and the 106 recontainment, isn't as seen. But this just shows what people have been overall seeing and experiencing in-game. And lastly, for the feedback form, we have optimizations. So all three of these we touch base on in 0.7. We obviously, as a lot of people have noticed, we've definitely worked on optimization in general. So I've, just by responding to feedback and everything, I've noticed that a lot of people are having much more easier times connecting to games and actually playing the game than they did in 0.6. But on top of that, we've also improved voice chat. Voice chat is much better than it used to be. And we've also completely rewritten the player movement code. So this is just, we're going to keep making these changes as much as we can, because these changes here are important. And you guys, if we don't work on these, then you guys aren't able to play. And that defeats the entire purpose. So that's why we work on stuff like the general optimizations or player movement and voice chat, because that's what makes the game fun. As you can see, this chart right here in particular shows what people found most beneficial, and what people found most beneficial, was the general improvements. But you can see there was some voice chat and there was some player movement in there as well. So that's what we got. So what's next? This is my favorite part of the show. I like to announce what we're working on now. And we are working on more than what will be listed here. This is what we know for sure will be in the next update, at least as if the current plan goes through. But anyways, the biggest feature that we're going to be focusing on in this next update will be lore. And ET, if we add gameplay mechanics to it, then obviously it's a game and it'll be fun, but it'll make it more fun if we add a story to it. And that's our next goal for this. We've actually already added a room that will relate to the story, and we've been working on many different sort of like papers that you can find in-game. And in fact, I'm going to show you guys 3 of them right now. And these papers are going to be heavily redacted, so a lot of information is going to be taken out. But without further, actually that'll be on the next slide. The next one is 096, which 096 is the most requested feature on the feedback form. I've definitely seen a lot of people mentioning 096, so he'll also be in the next update. Improved body identification. I will touch base on body identification a little bit further on in the stream. Improved culling and improved map generation. Once again, I will touch on those. I'll explain what they are and everything. Improved intro. Improved intro is already being working on right now. New main menu. We are going to have a new main menu. No pictures of it yet, but it is in development. And lastly, we want to add more Patreon and community-made content in-game, which I will still touch base on this one a little bit later. And also general optimization, which we do every update. So, lore. Like I was saying, we've already started on lore. The game will be fun by itself, but if we add a story to it, it adds more immersion to it. So we want to have a solid story that people will enjoy figuring out, and we don't want to reveal too many details as well. Like, we want to reveal details for the story over time. So I'm going to show you guys right now 3 different papers that we're currently working on, and you won't be able to see much detail from these, but it gives you an idea on what we have going so far. So here's the 3 papers that we've got. Like I said, they're much more heavily redacted than they'll be found in game. A lot of these black bars will be gone in game, but this is for the development stream right now while we are figuring out if we want to stick with this story or not. So if you want to screenshot these, send them to people, do whatever you want with them. They're public now. I can't say that all of this stuff right here will be sticking around, but this is what we have going so far. So this is what we got. I'm going to go ahead and move on to 096. And 096, like I said, is the most requested feature so far. 096, I see it right now in the YouTube text chat. I see it all over the server. I see people asking me, when is 096 coming out? When is 096 coming out? When are we going to see 096 in game? And 096 is already in the game, but doesn't spawn naturally because he's not fully finished yet. But anyways, here's a couple of pictures and a GIF of 096 that we have so far. Like I said, 096 is a completely perfect jet, which is why he's obviously not released without using a chat command. But he is there. So, like I said, it's the most heavily requested feature. I saw out of the 119 responses on the feedback form, I saw over 30 of them asking for 096 next, which is a pretty big proportion. So we are going to focus on 096 in this update and be a big goal. So next one, improved body identification. Body identification, it's basically what allows you to inspect a body and see what happened to it, because obviously we don't have different skins for body deaths, and I don't know if that's going to be a feature or not, but at the moment we don't. So I wanted to add a way to sort of convey what happened to a body. So I added that. Now, what a lot of people have noticed, and what I've noticed when this feature released, is that you can't pick up items from the body when they're dead. And that's obviously a really big inconvenience for a game like this, where sometimes you only have one item on the entire map, and they get stuck. You can't pick them up until the body despawns, at least. So, for example, in this picture right here, this paper right here, you wouldn't be able to pick it up because this body is taking over the interactable. So we've come up with an alternative to this, and this is what it looks like so far. So we have a brand new UI with the cause of death, obviously the person's name, and then you can pick up their items directly from the screen. The items can only be picked up by one person, obviously. And after there's no more items in the body left, it'll say there are no items present. Each item in their inventory will show up down here up to 10 items, because that's as many items you can have on a body as 10. And this is what it looks like so far. So I've been working on this feature a lot, and we've been testing it, and it'll work much better than the current body identification that's live right now. So yeah. Next one I'm going to talk about is improved culling, improved map generation, improved intro. For those of you who don't know, map culling is what causes certain parts of the map to be cut off when you're not near them. That's why the game's CPU usage has dramatically decreased since this last update, is because we stopped rendering map pieces that you're not near. Now, on the downside is a lot of people have noticed that in certain rooms, such as the 939 room, this has flaws, and it'll cut off the map when you're even in it. And that's not good. So we're going to work on improving that for this next update. Map generation, same deal. Some people have noticed that map pieces still spawn inside each other, which has been a bug since we released the game. Where we've had map pieces just spawning inside of each other, and then it blocks off rooms, and all this horrible stuff. And we want to work on that. And we will work on that, and it should be better by next release. And lastly, for this improvement section, the intro. The intro right now works, but it's not perfect. So same case. We're adding more to it, making it look more first of all, more like the SCP Containment Breach intro, but also just better overall. So that's what we got for improvements. New main menu. I'm not going to touch on this one very much, but essentially, new main menu. We already added, this past update added new main menu music. So you'll notice that the old music has been moved to the credits section instead. And we added new music thanks to Spoon, who was our audio designer.
That's me.
And so thanks to him, we've added new main menu music, and we're going to add a new main menu to replace the current one very soon. It'll look better. It should function better. So that's what we're looking at for that. Last big thing I want to touch base on is Patreon and community-made content. I was talking about the art frames earlier, how we added the art frames to allow people to get their content in the game, and we want to go on with that and add even more of that. So more art frames in different places, but also just different ways to include people's like Patreon names and other stuff like that. So that's what we're looking at for that, and this shows currently what we've added. Here's another picture of an art frame. We also added Patreon names down to the 106 monitor, and this picture right here shows a screen containing all of the Patreons that can be scrolled through and interacted with. So that's what we got for that. And that's all I have for the presentation. So if you guys have Q&A questions, I will go ahead and post them in the channel or in the YouTube chat, and I will get to those. And I do actually have a couple of questions before that were asked prior to the start of the stream that I'm going to get through first. So without further ado, let's go through these. First question, let's see here. The first question was, will the next update consist of a texture redo or any sort of upscaling, as the original game's textures are, of course, old? We're considering the possibility of changing textures, making the map look different. Our original goal was to have the game look a lot like Containment Breach, but multiplayer, but we're still thinking about if we want to go on and change that end goal or not. Will be in any moment of the development of the game new types of rooms besides the ones from Containment Breach? At the moment, no, we will not be adding rooms that were not present in Containment Breach. Down the road, possibly. Once again, it kind of goes in line with the previous question of we're thinking about how we want to continue the development of the game. So Let's see here. I'm scrolling through some of the questions here. When more API functions? Okay. As with new features, we'll be adding more API to the game. If anybody here is a plugin developer for the game, you'll know that the current plugin system we have is not the greatest, and that's also something that we want to improve down the road. We also want to add more API for those people who are into creating plugins for ET. We want to make plugin creation much easier than it is now. So that's our end goal for those. API functions is kind of a broad category, but we will be adding more ways for community-made like plugins and mods to interact with the game. Will there be more progression? Like more because yes, so we want to add more story. I think that's what the question is relating to, is story or just things to do in the game. So we want to include that. We just haven't. It's not a priority at the moment. We're making the game work and we're adding SCPs and stuff to it first, but it's definitely a goal that we want to reach. How long can we expect to wait for additional SCP items/entities? It varies a lot. It depends on the SCP. Much more complicated SCPs like 106 and 173, they do take a lot of time to make, compared to more simplistic SCPs like 714 or 294. It very much varies per SCP. Is the dev team planning to make different types of scenarios for the game? It depends on what you think of as scenarios. In terms of how the game ends, we will have different ways for the game to end. Like I said previously with the lore thing, there will be story to the game, so there's going to be a lot of that stuff you can expect. Definitely. What will the finished game look like? And once you're finished with everything and made an entire look like a perfect replica, will you start considering expanding the storyline? That kind of goes in hand with what I've been saying with the whole lore, is we want to expand the storyline. We're going to have a different story than Containment Breach does. And we're going to have different SCPs. We're going to have all of the same SCPs that Containment Breach does down the road. I think that's the current plan. But we are going to have SCPs in the game that weren't in Containment Breach, ideally. We're going to have, all those different sorts of features that the original game doesn't have. We already have different things, like bot identification, for example. You wouldn't need that in the original game, but we do have it. Let's see. Will there be different SCP facilities, since you can't add all the SCPs in the same facility because that wouldn't make sense for the game? We are still discussing that. In terms of how the story is going to play out, we are working on that. So we are going to figure it out. We might have SCPs separated differently. I'm not entirely sure yet. Let's see. Will you fix 106, 939, and 049? Whenever 106 spawns, he pops up and disappears. 939 currently walk through without it killing us. Running through still kill us. 049 currently does not make zombies. It's kind of a sort of broader category of just fixing our current navigation system and all the functionality of the current SCPs, which it'll take time. It does take a lot of time, but we do plan on improving what we have, definitely. We're not just going to throw in SCPs and then call it a day and never touch them again. We do want to add support. We want to have, obviously, longer support for adding features into the game, so that those features stay maintained and that they work well and they continue to work well. Will we actually have a SCP-173 that looks good and doesn't hurt our eyes? I wouldn't say the current model hurts my eyes in particular, but we are working on a new 173 model. I know switching from the classic 173 model to the one that we have was kind of a shift that a lot of people didn't like, but it's something that we had to do just for legal reasons. We are working on a new 173 model that'll sort of resemble the old one, but at the same time will look completely different. Is there a way to prevent zombies from entering spawn? Sometimes 049 can make zombies that follow you into spawn or spawn kill players. We definitely do want to have a method of preventing SCPs from going to the spawn and spawn killing people. I played on a server the other day and I saw a 939 that was at the spawn and it just killed everybody who spawned. That's not a feature. That's not intentional. It's not something we want to keep. So yes, we will improve on that sort of stuff. We don't want SCPs to camp the spawn and kill people every time they spawn. We haven't implemented that yet, but it will be implemented eventually. Will the AI be improved soon? Yes. I stated that a little bit earlier, but yes, we will be working on the AI. It will function much better than it does now. That's all I have for the Q&A channel. I'm going to go ahead and look through some of the channels and see. If you guys have questions, you can go ahead and ask me and I will read through them. Will you make a new 106 model? Maybe. It's 106's new model wouldn't be a priority. But if we do want to do that, we will do it. But we haven't decided yet, and we'll see. But it definitely wouldn't be a priority if we did. Let's see. What's the deal with the hot pizza? We've been thinking about the hot pizza for a little bit, and we've considered different approaches as to allowing you to consume it further on in the game. We don't want to have the hot pizza edible right at the start, and we're thinking about some possible health benefits to eating it. But if we did do that, we wouldn't have it right at the start. But we are thinking about it. We've thrown around ideas of making it so if you go to entrance zone and back, then you can eat it. Or have it spawn later on in the game, like in entrance zone somewhere.
This is an important question we need answered.
Just wait for it to cool down forehead.
Pretty much. We're still thinking about it. Alrighty. Hot pizza lore? No. We do not need lore for the hot pizza.
I'll make lore.
Pizza lore.
We do not need lore for the hot pizza. Go ahead and send some more questions. Go ahead and send some more questions, and I will answer them. I'm scrolling through some of the channels here. In the trailer, I remember seeing Class D members with guns. How will they work? We are still thinking about how gunplay will be involved. We want to have gunplay, just because it's a multiplayer game, and Class D with guns. So, we are thinking about it. We have actually already improved the gunplay. The gunplay right now in game is bad, and actually the guns are broken entirely in the game at the moment. But they are fixed. They're just not released yet. And we want to add better gunplay before we add more guns and add, reasons to use them and everything. So yes, we are thinking about how to implement guns. We do want to. They will be friendly fire off, which means that you can shoot teammates. That might be a plugin thing that can be changed or a base game feature. But by default, we do plan on keeping the guns friendly fire off, which would encourage teamwork over just not being able to kill your teammates. Will the addition of new rooms containing modern textures be an objective in the future? I'm not so sure about modern textures. I'm not sure how that'll work. we are adding new rooms. I mentioned that a little bit earlier, that we have a new room for lore reasons. So I'm not sure about modern textures yet. I'm not sure how that'll work. That is something that we want to include, but I'm not sure how it'll work yet. Do you plan to add human NPCs like MTF to fight against? Yes. We do want to add MTF down the road, and we do want you to be able to fight back against them. Which that's kind of a part where gunplay will probably come in. Is fighting off MTF. Maybe. We're thinking about it still. We're definitely thinking about how guns will be involved in the game. So we're still thinking about it. Anything being added to the warhead room. So the warhead is a question of debate in terms of how we want the alpha warhead to work in a multiplayer game, especially because you can't make it from light to the surface in the time that the warhead would blow up. You just can't do it. It's not possible. So we're definitely thinking about how it'll be involved. It'll probably be involved with at least one ending, possibly 2 or 3 different endings to the game. But we're not entirely sure yet. I can say with pretty good certainty that if you activate the warhead, it'll apply to people at the surface, but people who are still in the facility won't be affected by it. Like, it would be sort of like an ending that would apply to people who are on the surface. But we're not entirely sure yet with how that'll all play out. Let's see, what else? Will there be guards who can shoot and kill us? We're not thinking of guards right away. We don't want guards to be in like light containment, just because we don't want players to be in danger by humans right at the start. So plus the guards have probably been evacuated due to the breach anyways, if you think lore wise. We will have MTF that you'll be able to shoot and attack. But I don't know about guards. Probably not, is what I would say. Will there be something like a special role that can be played, or the players will always be Class D? For the most part, they will be Class D. We may have a playable guard in the future. We're thinking about it, maybe. But we don't know yet. Once again, it's just a matter of figuring out how we want the story to play out and all that stuff. More likely than not, you will be playing as a D class, because that's the goal. Is escaping as a D class. That's the whole goal of playing Escape together, is to escape. Will there be SCP-1162 room? Yes. 1162, which for those of you who don't know is a hole in the wall, I believe. It will exist. We want to have it story-wise. We will add story papers into it. The whole goal of the hole in the original game is for story, and I think we want to do the same thing. So yes, we will have it though. I can say for certainty that we will have SCP-1162 in some form in the game. What other questions do we have? Is Gate B exist? We will have Gate B down the road. We only have Gate A right now. We will have Gate B down the road. Because we will have multiple different endings. So yes, Gate B will exist. Will you be able to flush toilets? Okay. So, I think I've been asked this question like 10 times in the past 2 minutes or so. This is a good question.
Flush.
This is a good question. Maybe. Maybe we'll include flushing toilets. Maybe we'll include the butt ghost. Who knows? We'll just have to see what we come up with. How creative we get when that time comes. will he spawn in more than one room like the real game? If yes, what will happen if... what do you mean, Lockade? Do you mean, like, players starting out in different rooms? Is that what you mean? Because if so, I think we want to... I don't think we want to have people spawning in different rooms like that. We could consider it, but I think we want all the players to start in the same area, generally.
If we were to have players spawn in like different rooms, it would be light containment zone.
Of course, yep.
But we have been thinking about different spawn rooms, but that would be like later with lore.
Yep. A lot of the questions that have been asked so far regarding that stuff would definitely come around the same time as lore would. Just because lore. Let's see what other questions. Surface zone is going to change. Potentially. We're still thinking about how we want to go about it. The endings will definitely be different than they were in Containment Breach, at least somewhat. We want to have different endings in Containment Breach because we want multiplayer endings. Most of the endings in Containment Breach really only work well for single player, but we want to have multiplayer endings that work well. Will you add SCP-4570? Can you actually link me to that SCP because I have never read it before? Actually, I'll go ahead and look it up right now. 4570. Let's see what we got here. This is interesting. We'll think about it. We'd have to come up with a way to implement it. But we'll think about it. Alrighty, what other questions do we have? Any command to unstuck yourself? Sometimes I would get stuck at an elevator. I don't think, in terms of getting stuck, I've seen it happen before. I don't think we want to implement a command to get yourself unstuck, but I think what we want to do is rather fix bugs that get you stuck to begin with. Like, the most common stuck issue I've seen is people getting stuck indoors when they close. Which is a pretty common issue, and that's something we want to look into and fix. Will you add 087? 087 is not currently on the plan, but it's something we can think about. 087, yeah, we'd have to think about that one. I don't know how doable it would be programming-wise, but we'll think about that one. Will you add some more Easter eggs to the game? Maybe a reference of another game/media? Yes, we do want to add more Easter eggs. There's already one Easter egg in the game right now, but we do want to add more. So we will be adding, you know. What other questions are there? What other questions? Any others?
Talk about the test room. aka the 682 room.
The 682 room?
Yeah.
I don't know what we're gonna do with 682 yet. We'll think about that. 682 plays a role in one of the endings in the original game. But I don't know... actually plays a role in 2, my bad. I don't know how we're gonna include 682. I don't think we're gonna have 682 as an AI. Just because of, 682 being indestructible, and that wouldn't really be a whole lot of fun just to be killed by 682. We'll think about that one. What else do we got? Any other questions? Will 173 spawn an entrance zone? Probably, yes. In the original game, in Containment Breach, he doesn't spawn a whole lot in entrance zone. I think we'll probably keep it the same way, but it might be possible. 496. I don't know what 4969 is. So, oh yeah, probably not. I just looked it up. Probably not.
J911.
J911, probably not.
Sure.
But how will mods work? If I enter a server, will I download the mods before joining? So we're still considering how we want to do mods. We're gonna have a workshop. We're gonna use the Steam Workshop to have mods and plugins and different stuff like that. I'm not entirely sure yet how they're gonna work. I do know that they're gonna be through the Steam store or through the Steam Workshop. My bad. 420J. We do want to include 420J. We actually already have the Mandeville sound effect that plays when you consume 420J in the original game, but we're still thinking about how to implement that as well. Will there be a patch at SCP 106 room where you can jump down and get the level 5 card? We are going to patch that, yes. That's definitely not an intentional feature that we want to keep, where you can just jump down and get the level 5 key card. How often will there be a live Q&A like this? I want to do more of them. The thing is filling time, because as you can tell, the stream itself only lasted for about 20 minutes, and then the remainder of the time that we're having right now is Q&A. And so we're still considering how often we want to do these. I definitely want to do them more. I think that having Q&A is a great way to connect with the community. We want to do that more. At least I do. But I don't know how often yet. So I would say just watch for Steam announcements, watch for Discord announcements, all that stuff. Will you fix that view that's still blurry when you go out of 106 dimension? Yep. That blurry vision that you get in the pocket dimension, it's called the dream effect. We do want to fix that so that it only shows up when it needs to. Right now, you'll still have it when you die. You'll still have it when you exit the pocket dimension. It happens quite a lot. We do want to fix it, and we will. And it'll function much better down the road when we work on it more. Is 173 will be recontained by NCF? Yes. 173 can be recontained by Mobile Task Force down the road. And we have considered also having a way that D-Class can contain 173 as well, but we're not certain on that. I can't say that will stick around. But definitely the NTF will be able to recontain 173. In fact, you actually can use a chat command right now to contain, an admin command right now to contain 173. If you type in the admin console, if you type in contain 173, it'll contain him and he won't spawn for the rest of the game. That's obviously an admin thing, but we might have a way to recontain him down the road. We're still thinking about it. What else we got? Will you make it so you can drink your friends with 261? I don't know SCP-2... Are you referring to SCP-261? Because I'm not sure what that is as well. Oh, wait, 261 is the other vending machine. Yep. I actually haven't read a whole lot of this SCP. I'm looking at it right now. We could add it. It'd be kind of cool to add. I don't know if we want to have both it and 294 though. But we might have it. How the coffee machine works. So Are you referring to 294, which is in the game now? I'm assuming you are. So 294 in the game right now. It takes either 2 quarters, or you can swipe it with a MasterCard if that MasterCard has enough on it. And essentially after that you put in a drink name, and you get the drink. Right now, all the drinks that are available in-game have been put in by us, developers. And we are adding more actively. Since 0.7 release, I think I've added over 10 drinks since 0.7 released. That's how often we're adding them. And we want to keep adding them so that they keep getting added. So yeah, that's our goal with that. We're gonna keep adding more and more. Other questions? Will Virtual continue to make epic art like the pumpkin? Maybe. I'd personally like a workshop similar to the one developed for Team Fortress 2, where a user can express their opinion and the developer is able to implement the application through various game updates. This will make the community more invested in game development and potentially make new updates more consistent. That would be cool. I'm not very familiar with how the Team Fortress workshop works, but where the developer can express their opinion and is able to implement the application. That sounds really cool. I think, yeah, I think that'd be really cool to have if we did implement that. Definitely. I don't know. It's how, like I said earlier, how the whole modding and plugin system and everything will work is really up for question still. It's not been a main priority for us. We're still thinking about it. I posted, don't worry about pinging me. I don't get notifications right now. Don't worry. What other questions? Do we have any more? Several people are typing. Female Class D? Maybe. Night vision? We do have night vision goggles in the game right now. They do exist. You can't really get them in very many different places, but they do exist.
Should I add them?
We can discuss that later, how they'll work out.
Not yet.
Different ethnic group of Class D. There are different Class D skins in the game right now. In fact, every time you spawn, you're given a random Class D skin, as far as I know. So they do exist. If you play for a little bit, you'll see that people spawn with different skins pretty much randomly at the moment. They do exist. Any other questions? Can you add a skin selection? I'm not so certain that we are going to have a skin selection. We might add that through like a sort of command or something. But
if anything, we'll make it so you can select gender. But that's it.
yeah. Yeah, we'll think about that. Does SCP has serverless REST API? That's a Cedric question.
Yes.
There you go.
Thank you very much for that.
You can go to the hosting dashboard and find the documentation there. Except the redirect link is broken, but you can just like take away the 443 and make it HTTPS. Time to warn someone now.
Gate C. We've considered Gate C for a little bit now. Gate C would be a third exit way in the facility. It had different endings to it. We're still thinking about, like I said, how the game's going to end is really up for question right now. We've considered an ending where the players actually escape. We've considered multiple different endings. We do want to make sure that most, or actually all of our endings, are supported for multiple people. That's a big priority because obviously we are a multiplayer game. We want to have endings that are good for multiplayers. So it's still up for question right now, but considering it. But does the API cover all public servers? Just okay. Maintenance room, will it be open in the future? You're referring to the corner room, right? Like the maintenance room that goes down, it's that corner in the heavy containment zone. I'm assuming that's what you're referring to. We'll think about it. The maintenance room is from Containment Breach. Like that corner room is from Containment Breach. And in Containment Breach, it doesn't go anywhere. Like, you can just look down the stairs. Like, if you no-clip in Containment Breach, you go down the stairs and you see it just leads to nowhere. So we'd have to modify that room in order to support having an area to go down there. But it's definitely something we could consider. It would definitely be possible. We just need to do some work with it. Will be Class D type / subclasses, like one more slow but with more health. That's honestly, in my opinion, that's something that a plugin can implement, but I don't think we're gonna implement that as a base feature. But if any plugin developers in here would want to work on that, like I said, we're gonna definitely improve our API, and then after that, it's pretty much you can do whatever you want with the game as long as you follow the server rules. Have you thought of adding NPCs you can talk to? We've considered it. We're still, like I said, a couple of times now, we're definitely still thinking about how we want to go in terms of story, but we are thinking about it. And to any of those questions regarding story, you'll see when we release the game, you'll definitely see it like all at the same time. You'll see lots of story when we add it. I don't think we're gonna release any official like lore information. The whole goal of it would be to discover the story, discover it yourself. But I'm sure days after we release it, you'll see like YouTubers recording it and going through it and all that stuff. But yes, we have considered adding NPCs you can talk to, yeah, you'll see it, possibly. So we're now going on 55 minutes of the stream. Do we have any other questions? Reduce the time closing the door in order to enter inside. Okay. Yeah. So definitely I do want to give more time after starting 914 to allow you to run in.
Yeah, but only to kill you.
Yeah, pretty much. None of the upgrades or degrades are really helpful. But that'll be something that can be controlled by server owners if they want to make it so that 914 kills you or not when you go through it. It's definitely up to how that's a server configuration, but I do want to increase the time before those doors close so you have a chance to run in there and make it to your death. More models, which makes rooms or map looking better. Do you mean like adding more props to rooms? Is that what you mean? Okay, we do want to add more props to rooms. A lot of the rooms are very empty right now. We do want to add, more props to more rooms. We want to make it look like something was actually going on in the facility before the breach happened. Like, because at the start of Containment Breach, you can see like scientists talking to each other, and you can see guards walking. You can see all that stuff at the start of Containment Breach. but you don't see it happening in ET yet. And we want to add that stuff, and we also want to add more props so it looks like something was going on in the facility. There actually is a room that's not released yet, but it is done. We've added a room where there's like chairs knocked over and tables knocked over, and it looks like a breach happened in that room. You'll see like papers on the floor, and you'll see stuff everywhere, and we want to add more rooms like that. We want to add more rooms where, something happened that, started this breach and everything. We want to add that stuff, and we want to make it look like a breach happened. Any more questions? If you guys have more questions, you can always, directly ping me and I can answer too.
I have a question about another 9.14 server config.
Go ahead.
So you know how SL has that the 9.14 mode where
Yeah.
we should add that. So
Wait.
you can configure how 9.14 upgrades your weapon or your item. Like, for example, dropped and held. So like you can
Okay. I see what you mean. Yeah. We do want to do that. We do want to make it so that you can control how items work. That goes along with how I was saying, where it's a setting right now where you can determine if 9.14 kills people or not. It would probably go hand in hand with that when we added it, but it'd be cool to add. We do want to add definitely more controls to 9.14 for server owners. Yes, that is something we want to do. Do we have any more questions? Alrighty. It seems like we've answered people for the most part. I got a couple more questions coming in right as I say that. Can you guys add the option to eat the pizza? We discussed that a little bit earlier in the stream. We have considered ways where the pizza can be eaten later on in the game, and it gives you some sort of benefits or whatever. We've considered that. So will 096 have an angry time limit, or will he attack everyone or just the players who watched him? 096 will, as soon as you enrage him, he will keep going until you're dead, and he will only attack those who look at his face. Considering 096 is an AI, we can do much more with him. And we do want to make it so that he will be enraged up until the person who looks at him is dead. So, long story short, don't look at him. Alrighty. So, I'm going to go ahead and end the stream here. So, thank you to everybody who attended, both on Discord and on YouTube. I hope I answered the majority of your guys' questions. If you have any more, like I said, you can tag me in Discord and I'll do my best to answer. Like I said, I do want to host more of these, so just keep your eyes on Steam announcements and Discord announcements and in-game announcements as well. And hopefully you'll see more of these. You guys have a great rest of your